Okay, in this video, we're going to be going over how to parse through the documents that we imported last time. So last time, if you haven't watched, we figured out how to go through this index page for an accession number and pull the specific filings such as balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statement. Right here, the balance sheet. So as you can see, it's just a simple table. If we inspect the element here, we can see that there's all these table rows that have the number and then have the tag. So we can go into our code, and I added a couple imports. I added calendar, logging, and NumPy, and then I also set this option to format our data. So in all our data frames, if the floating point number has 0 basically past the decimal, so if it's equal to the integer, then it sets it to 0 decimal points, and then everything else it sets to 2 decimal points. So that'll keep the earnings per share numbers and any other number like that at 2 decimal points, and then every other number will just be the integer version of it with 0 decimal points. So if we go down, this is what we have so far. I've added in doc strings and comments to just kind of further explain what each function does. And then after this get statement soup, I've added in a couple more functions. So we can start with this extract columns, values, and dates from statement. So to start, we're just going to import all our functions. We're going to import our headers. And then we're going to set our ticker equal to Williams-Sonoma, just to keep it consistent. And then to get to the point we were at last time, we're going to get the accession number. So to do that, we're going to get the series through the get filtered filings function. And then we just want the accession numbers. So if we run that, we should be able to get that series. No, forgot to set the headers. Alright, actually, I'll just do this in the same block. So I'm just going to do this for the first accession number. So we're just going to use ilock to get the first one. And if you remember from last time, we have to replace the dash with nothing. And then we can get the soup. And then if you want to know how the get statement soup function works, you can watch the last video. I go over it. So we're going to need the ticker, the accession number, and then we're just going to do the balance sheet. Alright, should be everything. What is... What's wrong with this? Oh, I'm stupid. Alright. Okay, so we're gonna get started on this first function. So extract column values, columns, values, and dates from the statement. So we set empty lists for columns, value sets, and the date time index. We just call this other function that we created. I'll go over that now, actually. So it's get date time index, dates from the statement. So the table headers, it finds all the table headers with the class th. So if we go back to our table here, we can see that the table headers are right here, and that is January 29th and then January 30th. So it basically searches through the statement and finds these and then pulls them, puts them into a list. and then turns them into a string, and then it standardizes them, replacing the dots with nothing, using this function. So basically it just takes the dates, replaces the abbreviation with the full date, and then returns the date. And then we just convert it to datetime, and then return the index dates. So datetime index is complete then. And then to fill out these columns and value sets, we go to the table, so for table in soup find all table, and then we set our unit multiplier to 1. So this is for statements, say in millions, in thousands, and just regular. It lets us standardize the dates. And so down here, if the table header is in thousands, in millions, or unless otherwise specified, which is used for like the share count or something, it will divide it by 1,000 or just leave it in thousands. So our default value is going to be in thousands. And then it goes through each row in the table. And so on these on-click elements, if it's not an on-click element, it continues. And then if it is an on-click element, it splits them and then appends the column title. So basically, if we go over here, we see that, not the table row. So in this first one, we can see that the on-click element, it splits us up after defref and gets us this right here. Oh, this right here. And then adds that to the list for columns. So if we go back, we see, yeah, columns right here. And then it does the same for values. So it initializes an empty array. That way, if there's nothing for one date and something for the other date, it doesn't just add 1 to the list. It has a list of 2 or 3 for the cash flow statements. So all your data lines up correctly. Because if you don't have this, then all your data would be mismatched. Because if something was not present in this year, but it was present last year, then it will be automatically first position in the list, and will get matched up with the date of this year compared to last year. So this goes through each cell in the row, and then gets the class, and then it replaces $signs, commas, parentheses, and then strips everything else. And then if the value is a float, then it, if it's the special case, it divides it by 1,000, so that we always get the in thousands. And then else, if num in cell.getClass, it gets the value times it by the value multiplier. So that's how we kind of standardize our data. And then it appends that to the list, and then returns our columns, value sets, and date times. So if we go back here, we can see that this is oh, that's a bad example. This is where our numbers would be, right here. And so basically strips everything off and just pulls the value. And then if we were to go down to, I guess there's nothing with a decimal here. Let's go back to the income statement. So as we can see, there's 16.32. And then this is where the initializing the empty list comes in, because say there was no interest for some reason this year and last year, then how it works, this would get populated as the first value in the list and get matched up with this date, which would cause a lot of problems, as I have figured out. But yeah, so if we go into here, okay, so here's the table, and so yeah, as you can see, there's a decimal here, so it keeps this as a decimal, but all the rest of the numbers will basically be as they are shown here, minus the parentheses. I just have a negative sign. So if we run that function, we can just as you can see, it gives us a list of all of our tags and all of our numbers. So that's what the extract columns, values, and dates from statement does. If we go down to the next one, get date time index, we already explained that. Standardized data, explain that. Keep numbers and decimals only in string, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just goes through the string and checks to see if there are numbers and decimals in it, and then keeps those. And then create a data frame with statement, values, columns, and dates. So this takes the value set, which is what we get from this function right here. It's the value set right here. It takes the columns and then the index dates. And then it turns it into a data frame, and then returns that data frame. So if we incorporate all this in our process one statement, we take the ticker, accession number, and statement name, and then get the soup, and then log an error if there is no soup. And then if there is a soup, we set the columns, values, and dates equal to the results of this function, then create a data frame from those. And then if the data frame is not empty, it transposes it and drops duplicates, and then returns the data frame. So yeah, this works for all three statements for any company because most of the data is standardized. Once you go past 2011, 10, it kind of gets a little wonky. I have to go back and find a way to do that because it starts using XML versus HTML. So it gets a little different and not as standardized. So we could just run this. So in the next video, I'll go over renaming this to what we see on the balance sheet website or what comes up on EDGAR, because the gap names can be a little confusing at times. We're going to get the balance sheet. Could have sworn, yeah. Oh, we don't need the headers, my bad. Oh, we don't need the statement keys map either. Alright. So if we just run that, boom, there we go. And then you can use this for any year. So say we change this, go to 3 years back, and then just run all. There we go, 2021, 2020. And then we can run this for any statement as well. So if we just do see, these are where like the non-readable, well, I guess not non-readable, but it just cleans it up a little bit, makes it look a lot nicer. And then I'll just show the cash flow works. There we go. So yeah, that's how to parse statements from EDGAR. If you like the video, drop a like. That sounds so dumb. And make sure you subscribe if you want to see how to rename and kind of get all the years available. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you found it useful. Thank you.